The Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni case has been dismissed.
A federal judge in New York dismisses Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against Blake Lively.
June 9th, 2025, a federal judge in New York, Judge Louis J. Lyman, made some pretty significant rulings that have shifted the landscape of this dispute. Justin Baldoni's whopping $400 million lawsuit, which targeted Blake, Ryan, their publicist, and the New York Times, was dismissed.
Judge Louis J. Lyman granted a motion on June 9th to dismiss the $400 million countersuit.
Yes, you read that right. Dismissed. Now, you might be wondering, what was all this about? Well, it all started with Blake Lively. Late last year in 2024, Blake filed some serious allegations against Justin during the filming of It Ends With Us. These are, of course, very grave accusations, and they naturally drew a lot of attention. Blake Lively's complaints weren't just kept within the confines of a legal document. They were also detailed in an article published by the New York Times. This is where the plot thickened for Justin. He claimed that this article defamed him, and that's precisely why he brought the New York Times into his lawsuit as a defendant. He was essentially saying, "You reported on this and it's hurting my reputation." But Judge Lyman saw things a bit differently, at least in this latest ruling. The judge made a key distinction. Blake Lively could not be held responsible for statements she made in her civil rights complaint. Why? Because those statements are legally protected. This is a pretty fundamental principle in law. People need to be able to make claims in court without fear of being sued for those very claims, as long as they are made within the proper legal framework. So, when it came down to Justin Baldoni's specific claims of civil extortion, defamation, and false light, Judge Lyman found that they simply weren't legally substantiated. This led to the dismissal of the entire suit. However, it's not a complete closed book for Justin's team just yet. The judge did offer a lifeline, allowing them to amend and resubmit some of their claims. So while this round went to Blake Lively, we might see some revised arguments from Justin's side soon. It's also important to note that Justin had a related but separate $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, specifically for their reporting on Blake's allegations. That one was also dismissed. It seems the judge wasn't convinced that the newspaper's reporting crossed a line that would warrant such a substantial lawsuit. Now you might think, with such a clear victory, Blake, Ryan, and their team would be asking for their legal fees to be paid by Justin. And they did. But here's an interesting twist. The judge denied their request for legal fees without prejudice. What does without prejudice mean in this context? It means they can refile that request later. So while they didn't get their legal fees immediately, the door is still open for them to pursue that down the line. Understandably, Blake's attorneys were absolutely thrilled with the ruling. They hailed it as a complete victory and a full vindication for Blake, Ryan, and others who were targeted by Justin's countersuit. When you're facing such high-stakes legal battles, a win like this is undoubtedly a huge relief and a powerful statement. Let's rewind a bit to when Justin Baldoni first fired back with his lawsuit. It was in December 2024 when he initially sought at least $400 million in damages. He was claiming lost future earnings, arguing that Blake Lively and her associates had orchestrated a smear campaign against him. It's clear he felt his career and reputation were being significantly harmed by these public accusations. Now it has been dismissed. The big takeaway from yesterday's ruling is that Justin Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and the New York Times has been dismissed. However, it's crucial to remember that this isn't the end of the legal saga. Blake Lively's own lawsuit against Justin Baldoni and his production company, Wayfarer Studios, is still very much active and ongoing. It's a complex situation with a lot of moving parts. And it just goes to show that even in the seemingly glamorous world of Hollywood, real-life legalities can be just as intense and dramatic as anything we see on screen. We'll have to wait and see how this continues to unfold, especially with the possibility of Justin amending and resubmitting some of his claims. Stay tuned for the next chapter in this unfolding legal drama.